Okay, so we've got a story. When I say story, not fictional. Obviously, this isn't something made up, but you would think it would be when you hear it. We're talking about someone's experience. Now, we've done a video about this before because it's such a huge story. To fit it into an hour and a half, you couldn't do it because it's that bit big. It's yeah, it'll take a long time to actually go through it. So we've got a guest here called Brittany. Now, if you've watched the video before this, there's one that we did, which was the beginning story of what Brittany experienced. And what you're going to hear next is we're going deeper into the rabbit hole. In other words, she's going to share more of what happened to her. If you're of a certain age, I wouldn't watch this video. I would turn it off. It's going to be very graphic and it could be upsetting to viewers. So just be aware of that. So again, we have done a previous video, a part one of this, and I'll put the link in the description. So if you want to, just go ahead and watch that first and then come back to this. I do not know what Brittany's going to tell me and share with you. This isn't edited in any way. It's just one take. But one thing I do know, that Brittany, to say a survivor is the right word is wrong. She's more than that. And she's actually written a book about this because the story is so magnificent. What's the name of the book, Brittany?
It's called When Cops Try to Play Counselor, Mental Illness Becomes a Crime.
Right. Okay. So when I read the blurb, which is the back of the book, before Brittany came on, I read it and I looked at the title. I thought, okay, I wonder what that is. It tells you a lot, doesn't it? When the police aren't equipped to deal with certain things, they're not trained, they're not professional in psychology or anything like that. But I'll just tell you quickly, if that's all right, Brittany, basically what you went through, in a very short descriptive way. There's a lot more detail in the video before, but basically you were in the forces and then through COVID, you lost your job and you were discharged as well because of a physical condition that you had. Was it to do with your back, or was it that?
Correct.
Right, and
Right.
then you were discharged. So I was like, well, what do I do now? And you were in a situation that you had a little boy and you couldn't move from that area because you wouldn't get to see your son. So you ended up moving, spending time living with a friend, a male friend, and he was a friend, and you lived with him for a couple of years. But he had a child of his own, and his mother wasn't happy with the situation that you were living with him for whatever reason, and you weren't in a relationship. But then he said you have to go. Once he said you have to go, he didn't give you any notice. You were literally on the street. Now you had money, but you were homeless for a very short period of time. Now, when people say homeless, she wasn't someone like a typical what you would imagine a homeless person's on drugs or they've got drugs. It was no fault of her own. She had bank cards, she had everything, but she just had nowhere to stay. But because you were in shock and you had to do it quick, you weren't really thinking. You thought, right, I'm gonna have to figure this out. But as she's on the
Right.
street, within a few days, was it the first day, someone approached you?
It was within a few months.
Was it a few months? Sorry, and then someone approached you, and you thought
Mhm.
being an act of kindness, they asked, "Are you all right, love? You okay?" And you thought they were trying to help you, but we won't go into it now. You'll have to watch the first video for that. But basically, he led you into an environment. He took you somewhere, and he
Right.
put a gun out, and then he assaulted you. After this assault, obviously you weren't you're traumatized by what you experienced. You ran to the police, literally, and you fell on all fours because you were traumatized and in shock. And you,
Right.
in your own words, you said it was like an anxiety attack. You couldn't even breathe, and the police
Right.
sort of brushed you aside. They didn't really. They just sort of. It's called negation. It's when they looked at you and thought, and even said, "Are you on drugs?" And you're like, "No, I've just
Right.
yeah." Okay. Again, you go into more detail in the first video. That's just a kind of little summary, but it's a lot more descriptive in the other video. Okay, but what we're going to do now, after that happened, we're going to sort of start from there because this story is going to get bigger. What I need to do as well, just because of what you're going to talk about is quite sensitive. I need to ask you something. I know I've done this in the first video, Let me just get this up. I have to read this out to you. Just bear with me. Okay, I just need to do this. So, before this is to you, Brittany, before we begin, I just want to confirm for the recording that this conversation is based entirely on your own personal experiences and opinions. And you understand this interview is being recorded and will be published on this YouTube channel, and you give full permission for it to be used and shared. Are you happy to proceed?
Yes.
Okay. Again, the reason I do that because it's sensitive what she's about to say. So, guys, I don't know what word to use, but you've been warned. Okay. With that said, what we're going to do, we're going to get into the and find out what actually happened in regards to Britney's story. So, get ready for this.
Analyzing the news.
Right, okay, so like I say, this is not edited at all. It's done all in one take. What you're about to hear is the first time I've heard it as well. So I don't know what to expect, but I did have a brief conversation with you, didn't I, Brittany? And I said, where does this story lead without telling me? And you said, yeah, it gets worse. So let's start off. Again, if you haven't seen the first part of the video, go and watch it and it'll make more sense. So let's look at this bit. So you basically, there's you after the attack, a guy came, didn't he? And then another person, and he saw that you were in trouble, and he tried to help you. He even took you to the police again, didn't he? Something like that happened. You still got the same kind of response because this guy who assaulted you was known to the police.
Right. He was. They'd gotten multiple reports of him doing the same thing to other women in the area before the incident with me, actually. And so, yeah, I did find a couple of people that helped me after my first assault. And we had gone to, like you said, the police across the street from where I was. And I'd gotten the same response from them as I had the night of my assault when we tried to get them to take me to a homeless shelter or somewhere safe. And their response was, "We're not a taxi service." Um, so that gentleman helped me and had looked at me and said, like, you don't look like you're in very good shape. But if you think you can make it, I know someone who keeps, a room open for women in the streets and gives them a safe place to stay. He said it's far, but it's closer than the closest homeless shelter. So I could tell, with him, you know, initiating, going and talking to the police, trying to get me help, like I could see that he was genuine, and he was very upset at what the officer's response was when we went to them for, assistance. So, and he took me to that house and they welcomed me with open arms, let me get cleaned up and gave me a bed to sleep on. And, the mother's presence, she didn't like me in that house. Like I told you, she could tell I didn't really fit that, you know,
Yeah. Can you
street, so
yeah,
to speak.
can you just go into that actually, Brittany? Because I know we talked about in the last video when you said you didn't fit into that environment. So because a lot of the people that were there, I imagine, were
Right.
drug users, addicts, and you,
It's not all, I mean, it's prevalent. I even work now with the homeless and the
yeah,
mentally ill. So, um, I have a lot of, interaction even with them now, and I was homeless for almost a year. So, not everyone, I think that's, a stigma that surrounds the homeless, unfortunately, because I mean, even today working with the homeless and the homeless people that I met, no, it's not always the case. People fall on hard times, just like I did. And, it's like without really knowing and their story, I mean, you can't really, just assume that, that's always the case.
so
I mean, I
we,
got treated so bad when I was homeless. Like, I mean, because everybody treated me like that. Even the police treated me like that. You know, that was the first thing they asked me was, have you taken any drugs? You know, and it was just that, I mean, it's like this cloud that society puts over you that you can't shake or get rid of, and it just follows you everywhere, and it doesn't matter, what's really going on. It's like people don't care. They just assume the worst.
And that, so when you're on the streets, I'm assuming now, I may be wrong, but
I mean, I did meet people obviously that were on drugs. I met a lot of people who were on drugs, but I met a lot of people who weren't either.
you weren't at all. That wasn't.
No, no, I had been sober. I had an addiction in my teenage years before I went into the military. And then I kind of straightened my life up, after going in the military when I was 19. So I had years of sobriety underneath my belt.
Right.
And so it was really offensive to me, too,
Yeah.
that I had been so long in my recovery and none of it mattered anymore.
Can I ask you, because with homeless people, they need some sort of coping mechanism because they're on the streets. So I imagine that's why they turn to drugs. When I have spoken to certain people who are homeless, they say they take the drugs so they can sleep. They drink the alcohol so it keeps them warm. It's like this cycle.
Well, it's a lot of self-medicating too.
Mm.
I think, and you're in such despair in that situation. It's a very hopeless situation to feel like you're in, because it's extremely hard to get out of once you're in it. Not many people really make it out ever. I mean, it's a dogfight. It's a dogfight.
Like I
And
say,
without any
sorry, go on.
support, I mean, it's really, really difficult. And that's
In
why I have passion now, and that's why I work and do the work that I do, because
in
these
England, because
Mhm.
it's strange for people like me because I'm from England, but in England, I always thought if someone was homeless, they can't get off the street, but you can actually get off the street if you're homeless very quickly. The government will always provide a home for you. So, but in America, if you become homeless, you can't just go to the local authority or the government and say, "Listen, I'm homeless. You need to find me an address." They don't do that for you. How does that work?
There's not enough resources out there for the homeless. I mean, our organization we're the one I work with now, and that I've been at for a while, we actually get people off the street that are mentally ill and homeless, and we house them and give them apartments, and we furnish them, and we give them food and just like everything that they need
Yeah.
to help them get up on their feet. But organizations like the one I work with, there's not enough of them, and it's just like the homeless population has grown so much.
Yeah.
Addiction rates have grown so much. I mean, it's like it's a beast, and it's just like we just don't have enough out there for them, enough options. A lot of homeless places won't take them if they are on drugs. They'll drug test them before they decide whether or not they can come in, and they'll turn them away if they test positive for anything, which I mean isn't really helping anything in my opinion. But
Can I ask as well? I had a lady on a video come out today actually, and her story is she was on the streets from a very young age, and I think she was 16. But again, she was essayed by a family member, very close family member, and she kept it to herself. She didn't share it with anyone, and it created obviously the trauma. Then she started to act out. Then she started to smoke marijuana. Then it was methamphetamine. Her mum's like, this child's unruly. What's she doing? Why is she so angry at the world? But the girl wouldn't tell her mother, what someone did to her family member, and it had been doing for several years from the age of 10. So that trauma spiraled. She ended up being on the streets and being it's horrific, and from the age of like 16, and then being groomed by gangs and things like that. And I asked her a question that I just want to ask you. And I says, while you're on the streets at the time, what's the common thread? Because you must have met other people that were homeless, girls your age. What was the common thread that they all went through? And she said, I just want to know your opinion. She said, it before the drugs, it's always trauma. Something's happened, okay, for them to be there. It's not. What do you think? What's your view on that?
I'm in 100% agreement. I mean, you don't wake up one day. I mean, people don't, even as kids, you don't ever say, I want to grow up and be an addict one day. I want to grow up and be homeless one day. Nobody ever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something's happened. I mean, people self-medicate with drugs and alcohol a lot. And it's like to them, that's easier than facing that trauma head on, and it's like it's easier for me to just cover it up, and this makes me feel good and it makes me feel better, and it's an escape. But I mean, you can't keep running from everything, once you face those demons and you heal those wounds, then you won't, have any need to self-medicate. But a lot of people, I feel like, that are in that situation, they don't know how to get out of it. They don't, and you don't. Like, I've been there, and I thought I'd never get out of it. Like, I really thought, this is it. There is no way on earth I'm ever going to make it out of this. And you get those self-defeating belief systems start building, and those voices in your head that are just negative and screaming at you, and it's like, it's really a mental thing more than anything, in my opinion. If you want to get out of it, I mean, and that's a hard thing to do. And I think a lot of people have just been beat down by life. And I think they feel so hopeless, and they're in such a dark place that they just accept that, okay, this is my life now.
Yeah.
There's no way out of this, so I just have to adjust, like, this is it. And it's so painful, and then they end up numbing that pain, and it's just a cycle of,
Yeah.
I mean, addiction is the biggest demon out there, in my opinion.
So, with what the reason we do these videos and you write your book and share your story is because you're trying to help people, because there's a lot of people right now, even homeless, and they could be even watching this video, because some homeless people do have phones and they do watch. They're still human. They do watch videos, and they're looking for something. Because they feel isolated and alone. Think, oh, it's just me. They're not like me. I'm just my own little person. They don't know how I feel. So by someone like you saying, this is how I felt, and this is the outcome of what came from how I felt, maybe that's going to help someone. So you said there's a trigger, like you were in recovery in the past, so there was a stage in your life that you were, and this don't worry, there's a reason why you did it. Okay, you didn't do it because you
Right.
were for a bit of fun with your mates, right? If you were all
Right.
right, if you were high on life, you're not going to want to take drugs. People take drugs because they want to change their mindset, or they want to forget. There's no other reason, right? They want to feel or think different. That's the
Right.
only reason why I would take anything. So can we go right back? You don't have to, okay? Because the thing what the question I've got with this, when you went onto the streets and you said, well, that woman, you were not like these other people. And I get where you're coming from. You can tell by how you are. You're a decent person. You can feel it. You're very unassuming. You're very polite. You're very empathetic. You can see it. Very maternal, very loving, very caring.
Thank you.
Well, you are. It's a
Well, I think
fact.
Because they were asking me like questions about, just about myself and like my background. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of became obvious to them when I started telling them about my military background and me being a college student and like how I worked in mental health and, a crisis center. Like they could tell like this was not my normal. You know what I mean?
I know this is what makes this so fascinating, because if I looked, because I've heard your story, it's all in the other video. You've got degrees. You're not a stupid person. You're very intelligent. Okay. Yeah,
Thank you.
but it's the truth, right?
I'm a
Now,
nerd, I think, but I'm cool
the,
with it.
what it is, Brittany, right? And I've got to point it out. You when someone compliments you, you don't know what to do, right? But I'm telling you the truth. So don't look at it as a compliment. I'm telling you the truth. You are intelligent. You have to be to get a degree. I've got 2 degrees, and it was bloody hard. It took me nearly a decade to get them, of constant work, right? And you've got more than that, and then
Yeah.
you're high ranking in the forces, the armed forces, and you become you work with mental health. You have to be very sharp. You have to pass certain
Yeah.
qualifications to get to that level, and you did it. So you're high ranking. So from someone to be up there, right,
Right.
intelligent and
Right.
decent, how does someone get from there to suddenly now they're on the streets surrounded by people who are completely the opposite of what you achieved? So my question to you is, how do you adapt? Because you refused to take drugs. You didn't take drugs, but you were still living that lifestyle. It's like living in the sea but not being able to swim. So
Right.
does that make sense? So you're living in this world, the streets, where all this stuff's going on, but this you're not like them. So how? And when you went to that residential, that support home, even the
Mhm.
people there were like, "You're not like us," right? Um,
Right.
so
They thought I was a cop. Like she was convinced, I think, that I was a cop.
yeah.
And she just wanted me gone. Like she wanted me to go somewhere else. Like she didn't trust me. So
And what was your answer to them, those people? Because it's the way
I
you.
mean,
Sorry, go on.
and it ended. I mean, it was, man. Um, the brother, her son, she had 2 sons
Mm,
that lived there with her, and the oldest one had given me like this rosary when I left, and he told me to keep it and that it would keep me safe, and I still have it. Um, and that I held on to that and that cross that he gave. You know what I mean? Like, so I mean, it wasn't like a bad party or anything, or like a hostile or aggressive sort of situation or nothing like that. They were really worried about me. Um, but then, on the way to their sister's house is when I saw that church van, and I thought, I'd have a better chance going with the church than, like this wasn't a long term solution, and I knew that. And then, but I was still so traumatized that my thinking wasn't right. I wasn't thinking clearly, and I just ended up in a bigger mess. Um, when I had them take me to that Walmart up the road where I thought I could get a phone and just buy a phone, and then thinking I'll just call my mom, and then realizing as I'm standing there looking at them that you don't have any bank cards. When that guy had assaulted me, he got my bank cards, my everything. So I had no way to pay for it. And it's like, I didn't even realize that it didn't even register to me. And up until that moment, But then I walked out of that Walmart, and it's like I'm crying and I'm devastated. I'm terrified because I'm like, what have I done? I left the only safety I had, thinking this would be a better solution, and here I am all alone, middle of the night, and I have no idea where I'm at. I don't know where to go. I have no money. I didn't have shoes because they've been booked into evidence. So I was still going barefoot, and I had been walking and walking, and it seemed like forever. And I ended up running into someone. They approached me. He was on a bicycle. He could tell I was pretty, messed up, and stopped and asked me if I was okay. I'm like, no, I'm not. And, I hadn't eaten. I was starving. So I was pretty desperate up to that point. I had like blisters covering the bottoms of my feet. So I was in a lot of pain, and he tells me, well, you need to get off the street. There's an abandoned apartment building a couple blocks up. You could at least, be inside off the street. And, I was terrified. He handed me like this orange to eat. And, you get in situations where it's like you're forced to rely on the kindness of strangers. And unfortunately, you get wolves in sheep's clothing sometimes instead. And that's what I ran into again. This was like 3 nights later from my first assault. And he got me to the abandoned apartment building, and I got in there, and at first it was like, okay, it seemed, I was still really scared. He like handed me some clean clothes, and he was like, look, there's a place in there, there's a tub in there, you can go get cleaned up, and here's you some clean clothes. And he'd already given me some, like food, and I thought, okay, maybe I'm all right, like maybe this is a nice person. So I got cleaned up, I put the clean clothes on, and I went back out, and there was like a mattress on the floor, and we were just kind of sitting there talking, and I was like kind of finishing telling him of, what had happened to me, and everything up until that point. And so he knew what I'd been through just a few nights before, after, once I told him. And then his response to me was, well, the only way that you're going to heal from that is if you have, I don't know how to say it. I'm not sure if I can say the word on here. Which basically, if I were to engage in that kind of activity again, that was going to be the only way that I healed from it. Not necessarily the assault piece of it, but that part of it. And so, as soon as he said that, like, it was like everything drained out of me. Like, I just because I knew what was coming when he made that comment. And so then he goes up, wanted to tell me that, that was going to be the only way for me to heal, and that God would want him to heal me. So it was round 2 of that, but he kept me there all night. till morning. And I just remember like I was having like this out of body experience. Like I was like, I felt like I was like floating above myself. And he told me that if I made, because he could tell like I was messed up, and he was like, if you make any noise, like, or if you cry, I'll hurt you. So, morning had come, and, you know, by then I was like begging just to die, like, I was just like begging for it, like, just go ahead and kill me. Just like, stop. But, anyways, he gets off of me and tells me to get dressed, and that his girlfriend's going to be coming in soon, and not to say anything to her about what had happened. So then like a few minutes like goes by, and there's this knock on the door, and he answers it, and like there's like 4 or 5 women come in, and I find out that he's their pimp, and they're his, you know, prostitutes. And he's talking to them, and one of and tells him that some guy from that night before had slapped her and didn't pay her money and stole all the money that she had. So he knew who this person was. So he's like mad, and he's like, I'm going to go handle this. And he told me to wait there, and he was going to go deal with this person, and he'd be back. So he gets his jacket and all this, and he leaves. And the girls, like, she looked at me and she was like, did he hit you? And I just kind of put my head down, and I was like, he did way worse than that. And she was like, you need to go, you know, you need to leave now before he gets back, because he'll hurt you. And I was like, I know. And so she was like, he should be far enough gone now. You need to go. So she opened the door, and she looked to make sure that he, you know, was gone, and she let me out. And I just looked at her for a minute, because I was so grateful. Like, she might have been a prostitute to the world, but she was an angel to me. So anyway, I get out of there, and I open the door to get out of this building, and you know, it's morning, and I look across the street, and there's a church opening for service, and I can see people walking into it. So I go across the street, and I ask them to get me the pastor. So they get the pastor for me. They take me into a back room, and I'm like, obviously, you know, a mess, and I'm having another panic attack, and I'm freaking out, and I can't breathe. I'm trying to tell them like what had just happened and from the few nights prior. I'm like asking them to call the police. So I call the police, and they show up, and I'm talking to this officer, and I'm like trying to explain to him everything that had happened. And so that's when things really got bad, because somewhere in the middle of me telling him like everything that had happened, like something just like snapped. And I was gone. Like, it was like a light switch just went off in my head. And I just started rambling, and I started saying things that didn't make any sense, like, and that were really far out there. And like, he could tell, like, something was wrong. Something had happened. Like, he could tell, like, I wasn't the same person sitting with him, like 5 minutes ago. Like, something happened. And that's when I went into a trauma-induced psychosis for almost 4 months. So once the officers, like, could tell that something, like, wasn't right, they actually handled the situation beautifully in this incident. They really did. They didn't tell me where they were taking me after they got me, like, calmed down enough to, like, get me in there. And they took me to a mental health facility, and they ED'd me there. So, but they told me that I was just going there to get, like, my medications, and then I was going to go home, or, like, get to leave. And so that's what I thought, like, was happening. And so then I get into there, and I find out that no, you're not allowed to leave. You've been ED'd, so you have to stay here.
Brittany,
And so I'm.
Brittany, sorry to
Go
interrupt
ahead.
you, love. Just when you said trauma-induced psychosis, just so people understand what that is. Tell me if I'm wrong. It's basically a temporary or chronic mental state that occurs when extreme stress or traumatic events occur, such as like abuse,
Right.
accidents, or loss. Some sort of trigger,
Right.
and it can trigger like delusions, paranoia, and disorganized thinking. So what, because of what
Right.
you've experienced more than
Right.
once,
Mm-hmm.
and you were talking about it, that's triggered it, and that's what's
Right.
created that trauma induced psychosis.
Yeah, it's really called trauma-induced dissociative mental state
Yeah
is the technical term, but it's also called trauma-induced psychosis. They're kind of interchangeable, but yeah, I was gone completely. Like, and I mean, I was so paranoid and so terrified, and just I was thinking all the and so delusional. I was having so many delusional thoughts. Like, I thought that, these doctors were like part of the cartel, like, just crazy things that didn't make sense. And I thought the nurses, like, were gonna, assault me the same way they had, and like that everyone was basically after me. I didn't feel safe, like, anywhere, and my mind was taking me to all these crazy scenarios and delusions of, like, these people who were out to get me that really weren't. But that's your reality, like, that's your reality in that moment. Like, I was completely gone, and I had no idea that I was even you know had lost it. And so it's like, and even when people would try to tell me, like, that, I wasn't in my right state of mind, and basically, like, you're crazy. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, no, I work in mental health. Like, this is what I was doing. Like, I'm getting my, working on my 5th degree right now in forensic psychology. Like, I have a background in this stuff. Like, I can't be crazy, right? Like, how can a mental health professional be not, and you know what I mean? Like, that just didn't, I'm like, this, no, there's no way I'm, like, this is really happening. Like, you need to listen, and so you're gone, but you don't even know it. And where I ran into a problem there at the mental health facility was I was ED there for 9 days, and they released me, which they should not have ever released me, because I was nowhere near ready to be discharged, because I was still gone. But where the problem ran into was, so like, when we would do like groups and things like that, and they would be asking you, well, what's the answer to this? And well, what if this happens? It was like I knew all the answers. So it's like I had all the right answers for all the questions they were asking because this was my background. This is what I went to school for. So, of course, I'm going to know, you know what I mean? Like the answers to these questions. I do these same groups, that you're doing right now. So it's like, I've been where you're, so it was like I was on the opposite side of it.
Yeah.
And it was so surreal and just, but the staff there took me, basically knowing the answers to all their questions, and like all these things you're supposed to do. They didn't really believe me when I told them I was a mental health professional. They just thought that was part of my psychosis that I thought I
Yeah.
was. And so they didn't really take, when I told them that. But, the problem was they took me having all the right answers as me being ready to go. So that was like, like it was just, it really ended up screwing me over,
Yeah.
honestly, once I ended up on the opposite side of it, because it was like, they couldn't separate. I don't know. They just didn't see it. But and that kind of like, I think, just kind of, it was.
It's like it's is it like because it's like a police officer being
Mhm.
arrested. It's the same thing,
Right.
kind of thing. It's like you're now in the environment and you're thinking, wait a minute, I know how this works. I know what you're doing. I know all the answers to the questions. I know what you're trying to do. I know the prompt. I know this system because you've always been at the other side of it, behind the curtain. For you, it's
Right.
like I know all this. This isn't helping me.
Right.
No one's listening, but they'll
Right.
approach in the same way. Oh, okay, and you almost feel like you're being patronized because you know.
Right.
But this, so now it's going to create more frustration because they're not literally listening to you.
No, they're not. And it's like they couldn't separate the intellect from the mental illness. So it's like,
Yeah.
just because I'm like not making any sense, I'm having delusions, doesn't mean that like my IQ has gone down. You know what I mean? Like my intelligence is still, it's not, you know what I mean? And like everything I'd studied. So I still had, all my, past education and everything. Like, and none of that was obviously going to be affected just because of this, mental state that I had entered into. I still knew all those things, from all those years of doing it, but they just, I don't know, it really did not work in my favor as far as getting the help and the treatment that I needed, because they just mistook that for me being well, and I wasn't. So, but they did offer the day I got discharged. They told me they would give me like an Uber wherever I wanted to go. So I decided that I would I would get out of Oklahoma City and I would go back to Enid, which is where I was stationed at when I was in the military, because I knew that area better and it was a much smaller town. And I would be safer there, obviously, than, Southside OKC and all this. And so that's where I ended up going, but I was still homeless. So when I got there, I didn't have anything, but luckily my mother, she knew the numbers to my bank card. I had given those to her, a long time before this ever happened, in case she ever needed them. So I had, borrowed a phone and I called her. I was able to remember a number finally, and I called her and I basically, had her use my card information, because I hadn't shut those cards off yet. He had them, but they weren't shut off yet. So I told her just to go online and do like a Walmart pickup for me. And so she did, and got me like food, and like I was actually living in a tent when I got back there, but I was still in, this trauma induced psychosis. So I was out of it. I was always saying like crazy things that didn't make sense. I was having all these delusions. I was always looking over my shoulder. I thought all these people were in the buildings watching me that were going to come out and grab me. Like it was just terrifying because then you're still in the streets, and you're traumatized still. You're not still on your right mind. You're completely alone. You have nobody. You don't know what and it's like the fear of just being alone, like you're just waiting for the next monster to come out of the bushes, you know what I mean, in the middle of the night, just grab you, and it's going to happen all over again. Like you're not safe. And so I think that's just even more
Yeah.
traumatic. All the time just living in that fear. You can't really sleep, because like every noise, and you're just on guard 24/7, and then you've got these delusions that all these people are after you. I mean, it was insane. The people that I thought were coming after me and that were going to kill me, or they were going to assault me like they did, or they were going to hand me over to the people that did that to
Mm.
me. Um, like those were like the main theme of all the delusions I was having, and it's like you have no control. It's your mind is just taking you wherever it wants to go, and you are like that's your reality though. Wherever it chooses to take you, like that's your reality. This is really happening. There really are people in these, in your
Mm.
mind, like, and
It's,
that was terrifying.
yeah.
But
Can I
I
ask?
ended up.
Sorry, Brittany,
Mhm.
to interrupt you, and I do appreciate it. And what you're saying, I'm listening to every word. No one's going to ever understand what that's like, but I can kind of, I do understand how it works. It's this is all in your mind. Obviously, the things have happened, but now the paranoia. So everything's you're hyper vigilant. You've got thousands of thoughts just full pouring out of you into your consciousness constantly, and it's all negative, and you don't know where you are, what's going on. When you spoke to your mum, was that the first time you spoke to your mum since you'd been on the streets?
Well, that was like the second time I had talked to her. Up till that point, she, the problem there too, like that was a whole nother thing because
Mm.
her talking to me, I would be on the phone with her and I would be saying things that weren't making sense.
Mm.
Like she knew. Well, I talked when I talked to her because I remember I talked to her while I was in the mental health facility too. I remember that. I had been calling her, talking to her, and when they got ready to discharge me, I found out later on. I didn't know at the time, but later I actually found out from her that she had actually told them not to discharge me, and she told them like she's
Mm.
not ready to go yet, like
Mm.
she's not okay.
Yeah.
But they didn't listen to her. And they discharged me anyways. But I think like she she just kept listening to me and listening to me talk about all these crazy things that weren't making any sense. And our relationship began to deteriorate because, she had um, my ex in her ear trying to tell her that I was just, strung out, which wasn't true. And I think she just started thinking that, I was maybe. And so, they're not really familiar with a lot of mental health issues. They don't really know how to handle that situation like a lot of people don't. And I don't know, I think they just started assuming that that was why I wasn't like coming back to my senses, and stuff. And like maybe it's just the drugs. Or But I mean, that was hard too because that killed me when they thought that. But that hurt. But anyhow, so I'd been on the streets outside after I'd been discharged from that mental health facility here in Enid for about 3 weeks. I was still in psychosis, and I was going to this place here in town that's like a day shelter, where you can go and you can take a shower and you can like wash your clothes and stuff. So I would go there every morning. And like I said, I've been going there for a few weeks, and like multiple women there that I met had approached me and had kept telling me, like, be careful of this old man that hung out in there all the time. And he kind of helped the lady that ran it, I guess, and they were good friends. And multiple girls had approached me at different times, even, and told me to watch out for this guy. And they're like, whenever she leaves, he'll come in the shower room, the women's shower room, and he'll pull the shower curtain back on you and try to claim that he's looking for, oh, sorry, I was looking for dirty towels. And so after like the fourth or fifth time of hearing this, I'm like starting to think to myself, like, there's got to be some truth to this, right? If, this many girls have come up to me about this same thing and they've all got the same, at different times separate from each other, like, to me, like, there's got to be some truth to this. And so then I start thinking about it, and I'm like, this is, why is a man in a women's shower room to begin with? Second of all, why isn't he announcing himself? And third, it's like, I don't know why you would be pulling a shower curtain back on a shower head that's running and in use, because I don't know why a shower head would be on with nobody in the shower. And I know you heard that shower running when you opened that door. So, I mean, it's like not adding up here. You know what I mean? Like, this is clearly like somebody who's like a sexual predator in my mind.
Yeah.
So I'm like, she needs to be made aware of this. If this is really going on, like, she needs to know this. And, me just being assaulted twice, like, I was really angry over this. So I decided I was going to go tell her. And so I told her, I said, hey, like, there's been several girls who've come up to me and they've told me, that this guy has, and I mean, the second I told her, she immediately flips out on me. And she's like, what? Don't you dare say that about him. I've known him for 30 years. He would never do that. How dare you say that? You need to get out of here right now. Don't you come back. And I was just like, I stood there kind of dumbfounded for a second, because I just couldn't even believe, like, this is your response? You're going off on me and kicking me out because I'm telling you and reporting this to you? Like, I was not expecting that at all. But I mean, she stuck behind him with, some fierceness. I mean, it set her off, and she told me to leave, and I didn't put up a fuss with her or anything. I mean, I walked out, I was out on the sidewalk, and I mean, it didn't seem like 2-3 minutes. And these, two cops show up. And she had already called the police on me. And I'm like, I didn't even give her any grief or nothing. I just left, like, tell me to go, I'm going to go. So I was out on the sidewalk. I get approached by these two officers. And they're like talking to me, what's going on. I'm explaining like the whole situation to them, what I said to her, what had been told to me. I mean, he was such a jerk. One of them was actually very nice. He was awesome, but his partner, oh my goodness, he was a total different story. And he starts telling me that I'm trespassed from there. And I'm like, okay, well, what about this situation? Are you going to go talk to this guy? Are you going to look into this? Are you going to go talk to any of them? Like, is anything going to be, no, we're not doing anything with him. You don't need to worry about him. And I'm like, that's kind of ticking me off. And, he's sitting there, and the next thing he says, like, you know what? I'm trespassing you from this entire street, from one side of town to the other, all of Main Street, you're trespassed from. And I'm sitting over here and I'm like, you can't do that. That's not freaking legal. You can't trespass me from an entire public street. You know what I mean? And so the situation's kind of escalating a little bit, because I'm like, what are you doing? And so this whole time this is happening, I'm like going off on him, and it's like escalating this psychosis that I'm in. So I just start saying more crazy things, and I'm yelling crazy things that don't make sense, like about people that don't make sense. And it's like clear it's kind of like it just triggered it even, I don't know what I was in. And I'm just sitting there and I'm just standing out there yelling these bizarre things out. And then I go to walk across the street to smoke a cigarette, and I sit down on the other side of the street, not even thinking because I'm not in my right mind. And then here he comes, and he's like, "You're going to jail. I just trespassed you from that street, and you just walked across it to come over here and smoke. So I'm charging you with disturbing the peace and trespassing." And he goes down to, jerk me up off the ground. And I immediately, like, my fight or flight kicks in, and I start fighting him like nobody, and I'm screaming and that he's going to kill me. And I start getting in my head like, oh my God, like, why is this guy being such a jerk, And so then my paranoia and all this stuff, like, I start thinking that he's like involved and knows the person that, first assaulted me. And so he's going to get me in this car and he's going to kill me and he's going to hand me over to him. I'm screaming all this out. Like, I'm not just thinking this, I'm screaming it. And so I'm fighting him and I'm screaming, he's going to kill me. He's going to kill me. And I am begging good cops to come help me. Next thing I know, there's like 5 or 6 of them out there, and I'm fighting all of them because I'm convinced in my head at this time, because I'm in a trauma. I just went through, 2 assaults back to back. I just got discharged from mental hospital, and I'm still like, not in my right mind. So I'm like fighting them, and I'm still begging for good cops to come help me. They're going to kill me. If they get me in this car, they're going to kill me. They're going to shoot me up with something. I know they're going to kill me. Crazy stuff, right? I mean, just no sense. Like, but that's what and so then, I mean, that was like my adrenaline. It took them a long time to get me in that cop car, but I kept screaming for help. Screaming they're gonna kill me. So then I end up with 2 felony assault and battery charges on a police officer. Like, it was obvious before it even got to that point with everything that I was yelling in the street that made no sense, like this went on for a while too. I mean, they just sat there and watched me yell all this like crazy, insane stuff. It was obvious I wasn't in my right mind, like, right. And they handled that like so bad. Like, they, instead of taking me to like a hospital or trying to de-escalate me or calm me down or taking me to a mental health crisis unit, like an emergency room, like, they took me to jail. And so I get to the jail, and there's all these sheriffs there and like corrections officers, and they're getting ready to get me out of the car. And like, I'm in the cop car, like on the way to the jail. I'm in the back of the cop car, and we pass this dumpster on the side of the road. And I'm screaming in his cop car, like, hoping somebody on the radio can, like, hear me. I'm screaming like he's going to kill me and put me in the dumpster. He's going to kill me and put my body. And I thought that, like, that was my reality.
Yeah.
I was so terrified, like, and then I got there, and, there's even more of them, which just scares me even more. So I'm like fighting them, trying to get out of this cop car. I like the nurse. When they got the nurse to me, like, I was like freaking out, trying to get away from the nurse because I thought like she was going to shoot me up with something and it was going to kill me. That's how far.
Yeah.
And it was a nightmare. Like, they got me in there.
So now I'm in jail, but I'm in psychosis. I spent like 4.5 months in jail, and like over 3 months, I was in psychosis of those 4.5 months. And I was just gone. Like the delusions I was having were, I was having delusions that the guards were going to come in and rape me. And I'm sorry.
That's all right.
They were going to get that to me at night. And then I had delusions where I thought that they were sending like chemicals through my air
Yeah.
vents that were going to kill me. Like I thought there was stuff in my shampoo bottle that was like poison that, I could physically feel going up my arm, which was insane. And I'll never know like if that was real or just a part of, but it really woke me up to how powerful your brain is. Because if you can like physically feel
Yeah.
it, like that should tell you like how powerful.
It's when you said that, and do you know that singer Lady Gaga? She did an interview about that. She was abused by a recording artist or a producer or something like that. She did an interview on it, and she said she 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 feels aches all over her body constantly, and the doctor said it's in the mind because of the trauma. But she's like, but I can physically feel it. It's like what you said, because the
Yeah.
unconscious doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's not. Can I say as well? You know when you said about the police, I'll tell you something, right? I I work with social services a lot. I work with very vulnerable children, and so I understand it, right? And I really understand trauma. So I actually something happened. Oh, I'll tell you. I'm a foster carer, right? I foster children, right? Me and my wife do. And what we found is a lot of kids tend to who go through to the care system. Not all of them, but you might get kids who gravitate towards the streets, and then the grooming gangs come because they see the vulnerability in them. They can sense it, like they did with you, right? So it used to drive me mad. And I thought I need to find out who these gangs are, right? Because I'm gonna go and get them. It's like a movie, isn't it? So
Yeah.
right. So what I did, because it was frustrating me so much, I'm like,
Yeah.
who are these predators? Because I'm gonna find them because I don't know who they are. So I thought I'm gonna join the police, and I was dead serious about it. So I applied to be a police officer, and I passed the qualifications, I passed the fitness test, and I'm old, but I still got in. And then when I got in I've got to be careful what I say. I got in. This is nothing to do with the police, right? I'm not bad mouthing them, but when we used to do our training, there was a woman and she was drunk and disorderly. You call it DUI, is that what they call it? Drugs
Yeah.
under the influence. We call it drunk and disorderly. So if someone's drunk or on drugs and they're walking around the streets, in England, like America, is classed as a criminal offence. So a police officer can say, right, I'm arresting you on suspicion. This is what happens in Britain. I'm arresting you on suspicion of drunken disorderly. You have the right to remain silent, blah, blah, blah. They'll put you in cuffs, put you in the car, right? That's the law, and that's what the police officers do. But because of who I am, my approach is different. I see this woman, she's drunk and disorderly, she's in her 50s, she's walking around, it's 10 o'clock in the morning, she's drinking a bottle of whiskey, right? I don't go up to her and say, right, I'm arresting you. I go, what's up? Come here a minute, love, talk to me. And I'm talking to
Right.
her. What's going on? And she's going, F off, F off, screaming at me. But I'm not bothered. Because I know, I'm like, it's all right. Just what's going on? And
Right.
I'm talking to her, right? I
Right.
even say to her, I goes, I don't want to arrest you. I don't want to nick you. That's what they say in Britain. I don't want to nick you. I just want to talk to you. Because that's all I want. I want it to be safe and go home, right? And I
Right.
said, just talk to me. And she started to calm down because that's my approach. It's called therapeutic approach.
Right.
And my sergeant at the time, and it's not against them. I'm not bad mouthing them, right? But he said to me, he said, Travis, this isn't social services. This is the police. He said, you should have nicked her. You should have arrested her. And I'm like, and for that reason, I thought, I can't do this. I can't do it because I know I don't just see someone commit a crime. I'm like, well, why are they doing it? And it's not the
Right.
police's fault. It's like you said, they're not trained in that. They see a crime, it's like, oh, roll their eyes, there's another one, get in, and that's how they look at it, right?
Right.
They do have some training to an extent, but again, they'll never ever have as much because it's too much information. It's too much knowledge that they
Right.
would have to learn, and I understand if they were therapeutic with everyone, the crime would rise because they couldn't get through everyone. They couldn't get to everyone at the same time. So again, is it money? But again, I get where you're coming from. I can see how that happened. They've seen you. You're in the back of the car. What you're experiencing is real. In your mind, it's real. That's your reality.
Right.
They're thinking she's off her head. She's drunk. She's on drugs. But they don't. They
Right.
don't know because.
No.
So I get that. I get that, love.
Too, it's like I got arrested for walking across the street,
Yeah.
and literally for walking across the street, and then for disrupting the peace. I mean, disturbing the peace. I'm in psychosis. Of course, I'm disturbing the peace. I mean, hello, you know, that's a symptom of this, chemical imbalance that's going on in my brain right now. You know what I mean? That I have no control over. So it's like, are you kidding me? You're disturbing the peace. I mean, if someone's in psychosis, I mean, what do you think they're going to be doing? And then I walked across the street, and like the anger I had after, I finally had come back, and I was able to look back. I was so angry because I'm just sitting there like, this is not right. Like, this is so messed up. Like, this is just like I'm sitting here like, and I'm so angry because I'm thinking to myself, like, I had two men do what they did to me, and they both are walking free and never suffered a single consequence. And I'm in chains because I walked across the street and because I was disturbing the peace while in psychosis. Like, I just couldn't even, I was so angry. Like, I felt like I was being punished by the county because I felt like I had this happen to me and I went into a trauma-induced psychosis. Like, I was like that was my fault. And like, I was being punished for being in that state of mind. And I just thought it was so unfair. It's just so unfair. Like, but when they got me in there, too, it's like so now I'm in jail. I'm in psychosis. I'm in psychosis. I'm there like almost 4.5 months. I'm in psychosis for over 3 of those. And they put me on solitary confinement for like 31 days. And then my cellmate, like next to me, committed suicide while she was there. I wrote about that. I dedicated my book to her. That story is in there because I feel like they really are responsible for her death, in my opinion. And nobody really knows the story of what really happened to her while she was there and what they did to her. So they had like rolled her like dead body out on the gurney and they like left it in front of my window so I could see her face. Her face was like staring at me. And I had been having like periods of like where I would be like, I felt like I was in like reality and then I would like slip back into these delusions. So it was kind of, I was seeing like the jail counselor
while I was there, and she was working with me, and so like after some time, it was kind of like I went from like full blown just delusions all the time to like I was coming in and out sort of. But when that event happened, it just started spiraling all over again. And I remember they sent the jail counselor in, like I was freaking out in my mind, like because they had told me that the lieutenant was worried about me and they were going to put me like on suicide watch, like because of her, like how bad it affected me. Because I mean, I was like screaming at them and blaming them for what happened to her.
And
They were getting her body out. Um, so I was like, I got it in my head that like I had to chill out. Like you got to calm down. Like if they get you in that room, they're gonna kill you. You know, like I started spiraling again. So like that event kind of just made me regress a little bit and go back for a little while. And then one day I remember it. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was sitting on my cell bed and it was like light switch came back on and I was back
yeah.
and I was back in reality. I got my sanity, like, but it terrified, like it sent chills down my entire body because I started thinking like back on like all the crazy things I'd been saying and I'd been doing, you know, like all that time. And like it was like I was watching a movie of myself, but it wasn't me. And it's like I'm just screaming at the screen, like, yeah, but that's not me. Like, that's not me, though. I would never do that. Like, I would never say these things. Like, I'd never experienced anything like that before in my life. And it terrified me that it had taken me that far for that long. And I had no control over it. And so then I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is scaring me to death, like that my mind is, and I'm trying to process. And I couldn't process, like, but then, you know, it's like, and then it's like the gravity. Like, I'd been in jail for over 3 months, and the gravity of the situation that I was in had not even sunk in yet. Like, it had not even hit me yet that you're in jail. You're a felon now. Like, because all I could focus on while I'm being thrown was survival. Like, that's all my mind could think about for, you know, because I'm being flipped into just nightmare after nightmare after nightmare out of what's about to happen to me that isn't really happening to me, but to me it is. And so that's when everything like hit me like, oh my God, like I'm in jail. Like how this is impossible, right? Like this can't happen. Like I'm not no, like I'm a freaking college student. I'm a military vet. Like can't be real, right? This can't happen to somebody. Like this cannot happen to somebody is why I keep just telling myself over and over. Like I'm like, and then it's like, you know, I'm thinking my life is over. Like all my dreams and goals, I spent a decade in school getting all those degrees, and I'm like, it's all for nothing now. Like nobody's gonna hire you. Like everything you worked for is gone. And then like then the worst of it, because then it like hits me that I'm like, oh my God, my son. oh my God, my son. And I just kept screaming. I hit the floor like, and I just kept screaming, no, no, God, please, no, 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 no. Like, because
Right.
I knew like how bad that was. It's gonna hurt him when he
Okay.
hears his mom, you know?
All right. Well, what we've got to do, because I don't want you to get, you're getting upset, and I obviously don't want you to do that, because what you're doing really well. You're explaining it. Um, I don't think people can really understand what it's like. So if we
Right.
look, if we actually look at that condition, okay, just take away what happened, what caused it, because something caused it, obviously, which you've explained. But when we, just to the people who are watching, trauma-induced psychosis, they really understand what it's like. It's basically the symptoms of hallucinations, not little ones. This is extreme hallucinations. So in your mind, it's real, intense fear. So your body, your biochemistry, your body reacts to it. You're in a constant state of anxiety, fear. You have flashbacks. That's a big symptom as well. Paranoia, disorganized speech, so you can't even get your words out, and social withdrawal. These are all the main things that it is. That it doesn't stop, it doesn't sort of fade down. It's like a heightened state of fear. So we've all experienced fear, but it only lasts like a couple of seconds. But with you, it was constantly, and it was getting worse and worse. And in the situation that you were in, you're trying to articulate yourself, you're trying to say, listen, and no one's listening. So your brain's even more extreme, and you're not, you've got no conscious control over it, because that traumatic part of your brain's kicked in, that fight or flight, and you start speaking really quick, and people are like, what's going on with her? And now it's frustrating for you, because you're just trying to say, I'm trying to explain something to you with urgency, but you're not listening. And that is terrifying. The thing, Brittany, with the causes of it, and you know this as much as I do, but it's like we said before, it's linked to something traumatic. But they tend to say it's often, even though these things happen to you, the actual psychosis, the induced psychosis, is often linked to childhood trauma. Would that's not to say it is, but would you say that might have had something to do with it? They because you might have experienced it before.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not
Yeah.
taking away, love, anything that's happened to you, because that's happened, right? Even the police confirmed that that did happen to you, right? What made you arrive to that state is not your fault. You're not making this up, right? That's kicked in because the stress response, because it's extremely stressful. But you don't, because you've not really touched on your childhood. You don't have to. You're in control. But is he something that might have? If you want to share, you don't have to. It's up to you, love.
Um, I had my stepfather was alcoholic and used drugs at times, and he was a nightmare. I'll just say that. Um, I don't really want to.
No, that's fine. It's fine. It's absolutely fine, love. Don't worry. You're doing really well.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave that one. Leave that one alone. I
No,
think.
that's all right, love. It's okay. It's all right. You're all right. Okay. Where's that cat? I can see that cat. It's sitting there quiet.
He's passed out on top of my book actually right now.
Do you know in the first video we did, the cat came along? Cats don't care, do they? I've got a dog. My dog will, but cats don't care. They just do what they want. And your cat came over. Can you see her there? Let's have a look. Hang on. Let me change the screen so we can see her. She's lovely. Where is she? Hang on. Let me get her. Guest only. There you go. She's there. Is it a girl? I keep on calling she.
Yeah, it's a boy. This
Oh,
is a
sorry,
boy.
mate. I'm calling you a girl. So he's a boy.
Yeah, this is Jax. He's
Jack. Oh yeah, Jackson. Is it Jackson?
Jax.
Jack,
Yeah.
that's it. Oh, look at his little paws.
Mm-hmm.
He's cool, him, and he ain't got a care in the world. Look at him. He's like, oh, chill out.
He's living a good life.
I watched this video once, Brittany. It was about, it was dead funny. It was, I think it was like a documentary on YouTube or something, and it was called "Cats Are Evil. They Shouldn't Be Pets," and it was dead funny.
Yeah, with the cat cult lady, like the pastor lady or whatever, that was crazy.
It gets
I
cat.
think I seen that. She's like, yeah, I was like blown away by that too.
Yeah, they
I
can't.
was like,
They try and kill you, and it's. But they're funny, aren't they? Because they're quite independent cats, aren't they? You can let them out the house, and they'll just go off and do their own thing. You can't tell cats what to do.
no, they've all got their own personality too. So.
Yeah, they are funny. They're so funny, but they're very therapeutic as well, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
They are. They're great. Have you ever you've heard about the cat string theory? It's quite you know, right? You'll like this. Okay, let me get my thing on. So, the cat string theory. I always tell people about this if they're not aware of it. If you get a ball and go up to my dog, right? For example, a dog. You get a ball and you throw it. The dog will run, grab the ball, and he'll probably bring it back, right? And then you pick it up and throw it, right? If you get a ball and throw it to a cat, it'll run a little bit and it'll just leave it. It's not bothered, right? But if you to get a cat's attention, it's called the cat string theory. If you get a piece of string with a fluffy ball and you dangle it and keep on pulling it away, it'll drive the cat mad. He'll play with it all day. True, innit? And they say that's different.
I mess with mine with those little red like laser lights.
Oh yeah, and they got Jesus. Yeah, they love it, don't they? I was watching. Hey, do you know what? I was watching something today. Actually, I don't know if this is true. It was on again YouTube. It says that cats are scared of cucumbers.
I've seen that.
Have you seen
a ton of videos about that. Yeah, like I've been wanting to try it with my own, but I always forget to get a cucumber.
And you think, well, why are they scared of cucumbers? So if you get a cucumber, and you put it when your cat's doing its backs to you, just put a cucumber on the floor next to it. It'll turn around, look at the cucumber, and it'll always jump.
Yeah, it like freaks them out.
And you're like, why does it freak him out? And then they say it's because the DNA is because
so
they think it's a snake. And that's why they do it. Now, again, this is interesting, right? You know, you say about the mind, that's genetics, right? You could have your cat has probably never seen a snake in its life, right? But it's still in its brain. If it sees anything that resembles a snake, it automatically has a response to it. And you're like, but why? If you've never, because it's genetic. That gene's been passed over and over and over, and it's in them. Now, so this is why I love speaking to people, right? Humans, because we're all conditioned and programmed. So, aren't we? We've all got thoughts. There's certain smells. You could walk into a room and smell a smell, and it'll take you back 20 years, and you'll suddenly remember because of that smell, or a taste, or it might be the way someone looks at you, or someone says a certain trigger word to you. It could be anything. A song. It's like whoa, and we know that, don't we? And we're like, oh yeah, that happens, doesn't it? I'm like, yeah, because we're conditioned. Our brain isn't. This is what I like. You're putting light onto this. Humans really underestimate the power of the brain.
Oh yes,
they do.
I did myself. Though, you know, and I even worked in that field. I worked with people like that. You know, before this happened to me, which is what made it so surreal too. But it was like once I experienced that for myself, which I never in my wildest dreams thought any of that like could ever happen to me or any, you know what I mean? Like I mean, it gave me it gave me so much more compassion for people who struggle with mental health issues. Like I had compassion obviously for before working in that field prior to what happened to myself, but it was like after I came out of it and I went back to work in that field again, which is what I'm doing now too. I'm still, it's like it opened my eyes to like what they experience and what life is like. And I feel like so blessed that I was fortunate enough at least to come out of it. You know what I mean? Like, and people with like schizophrenia and severe mental health issues like that, it's like that's their normal. That's
Mm,
their everyday. There is
yeah.
no, snapping out of it just, like that. It's like they're, and it's heartbreaking.
But the good thing is, there's always a positive, isn't there? There's a spin. It's that okay? You've had to you've been through like the wars. You've been through the hell, fear. Even if your reality at the time you were perfectly safe, still in your mind you were living in fear because of the trauma that was ignited into your unconscious mind, which you went into that trauma-induced psychosis. Okay, you've walked through it, and you're still alive, right? So because you've now got that knowledge, you've not learnt it from reading a book, even though you have, but now because you've walked through it, you felt it, experienced, tasted it, touched it, smelled it. So when someone says to you, and they're acting in the way you did, you could now you look at them and go, okay, I know what this is. You know the right words to say because you know what they're going through. That's why you now become almost an asset. In other words, you're a very important person in that person's life because you know what it feels like. Okay, you see these lot of these I know psychologists, right? I know loads of them, not because I have counselor or anything, because when I did psychology years ago. But anyway, a lot of psychologists that I've met, and I'm being dead honest, and I've said it to them, they don't know what they're on about. And these have got PhDs, master psychologists, they don't know what they're talking about because they've
But
learned it all from a book. They've not
mhm.
experienced it. So it's like someone could know everything about trauma, right? Everything. But if they've never experienced it, they know nothing, right?
Well,
Because
I tell people it's like if you're trapped on an island with someone, do you want to be trapped on an island with somebody who's been trapped on an island before, or do you want to be with somebody who's trapped on an island that's only read about being trapped on an island? You know what I
exactly,
mean?
yeah, okay, absolutely. You want this someone
So
who's got the
tell
experience, not the knowledge. Knowledge is one thing. It can be academic, but unless you've got the physical experience, then there's confidence in competence. That it's a difference. So what you could do, because you've got your, this is what I'd suggest. If I was in a situation like you, I think, right, I've got the education, I've got the pat on the back, the degree, the qualification, but I've also got the experience. I said, okay, now this is different. I've
right,
got the thing, and now I've got the feeling. I know what it's like. So potentially, well, factually, you could think, okay, I've got something here, and it's very
right,
powerful. Okay, that means when someone's suffering, because that's what it is, isn't it? When they're
right.
suffering and they don't know the answer, they just be
Mhm.
positive doesn't work. Just think
Right,
positive thoughts. It doesn't work. You know how to sort of say, right, this is all about conditioning and programming, and you can empathize with these people on such a
right.
deep level because you've been there. You can relate to them. You should,
Yeah.
that wouldn't be a bad idea because a lot of people
Well, I
got.
wrote a book too. Like I wrote specifically, like I did
Mm,
everything because this happened to me. It was like this needs to change.
yeah,
And so, I got in this situation, and I can remember, like, so I when I snapped out of it,
yeah,
like, and like came back to, and all this stuff started hitting me at once, and the gravity of it all, and I start realizing, it's like for literally like a few days I was like convinced. And I mean, I really, really thought this. When I say I really thought this, I mean it. I thought, like, this can't be possible, right? Like, this can't be, like, I couldn't accept it. I couldn't. So I really thought I was just in a nightmare for like days. I went days thinking like I was really just in a nightmare and I was going to wake up. Like, you're going to wake up. You're going to wake up. And then it was like after the third or fourth day, it was like I realized, like, you're not going to wake up, Brittany. Like, this is really happening to you. And so then it was like, okay, well, how am I going to get out of this? Like, I've got to figure out, like, how am I, so I start trying to, they'd given me a court-appointed attorney at the time. And they had told us that he had just set up his new office and his phones weren't working. So we had to write him if we wanted to have, contact with him or tell him something. So I sent him 3 letters and I told him, get my police reports from my assaults, get my mental health records from when I got ED'd to that mental health facility, because I knew they drew blood when I got admitted there, and it would show that there were no drugs in my system and that I was truly in a trauma-induced psychosis. And so, like, I'm thinking, like, get all this evidence, like, get these reports, get my records, like, this will prove to them, like, I was really in this, like, had really just happened to me, and it was their cops who messed up, not me, and I shouldn't even be charged, like. And I kept thinking there was like a ray of hope, like, they're going to see this and then they're going to understand. Then they'll see, like, this is like their mess up. Like, they should have never done. They should have taken me to a mental hospital or an emergency room. And so I wrote him 3 letters telling him that. And day of court, he shows up in court with nothing but a deal from the DA. He didn't get any of it. It was just, sign this and you can get out of jail today and you can be on probation for 5 years. And if you don't get in any trouble, then we'll dismiss it. And, or you can not sign it and face 8 years in prison. And I had never been in any trouble like that before. You know what I mean? Like, I'm terrified. And it's like, I'm so mad at him because he has like nothing. And it's like, what is the judge going to do? Take my word for it? He didn't get anything. I was just devastated. And it was like, what else am I going to do? And I remember it killed me to sign that freaking paper because I knew, like, this is messed up. Like, this isn't right. And so I just signed it. I had no evidence. What was I going to do? So I remember I got back to my cell that day and I looked up at God and I made a promise to him those last moments in that jail cell. Like, I promised him that I would do everything in my power if I ever got out of this mess to make sure that this never happens to somebody ever again. Because the reality of it is that we have been locking up the mentally ill for centuries. Like, we have been criminalizing, penalizing, and traumatizing people with mental illness, and it is not right. It's inhumane. And there needs to be new laws that protect these people's human and civil rights from law enforcement and wrongful imprisonment, because they are not qualified to play counselor. And I feel like they are so jaded from their day-to-day. And I'm not here attacking police either. I understand that not all cops out there are like the cop I encountered that day, when all this happened to me. I get that there are awesome, amazing police officers out there, like, I'm not, trying to bash law enforcement. I honestly look at this as, a way for us to learn and grow from this and build a better system from it. Because honestly, when you think about it, when people, the general public, sees these people on the sidewalk and on the street, and they're out of their mind, and they're saying stuff like I was that doesn't make any sense, people a lot of times just assume they're on drugs, but you don't know that, because a lot of mental health symptoms can mimic drug, uh, symptoms as well. So it's like you can't distinguish one from the other. You know what I mean? Because they look almost, identical.
Yeah.
And you can't just make that assumption. And so, it's like they're not qualified. When these people see these people out here, who do they call? The cops. And then, one thing leads to another, and the next thing you know, they're getting locked up, and they're not equipped to handle these people. And from my experience with this, I now want to advocate that we have mental health professionals working within our police departments. We need people there, at least, a therapist, psychologist, somebody, at least one or two that are on call, or I mean that are there, that can go out on these calls and assist these people and get them the proper care and stuff that they need. Whether, this isn't right, because it's like, these aren't like physical symptoms you're going to see, like you would see with any other illness. They're not physical symptoms that you can see with your own eyes. These are behavioral symptoms. But regardless, they're still symptoms.
It's like, look at this. Remember, well, you won't remember, 100 years ago, whatever it was, if someone was having an epileptic fit, they didn't know what that was, so they think, oh, they're possessed by the devil, or they're a witch, and they burn them at the stake. But but now we know they're not mental. Just this is what it's like. Mental health. I always think when I was a kid, you'd see the odd person who was mental. Very rare. When I was a little kid, you'd see someone who was a bit odd and go, oh, they're mental, right? But now it seems that, where are all the mental people gone? Because they've all disappeared. I'm like, no, they haven't. They haven't, because the mental health hasn't disappeared. People are just very good at hiding it. And like you said, you can't see it. It's hard, isn't it? It's hard because I always think, obviously this extreme trauma, but I think every human being, nobody has got sound mind, meaning perfect positive thoughts, positive self-esteem, but the self-awareness, living in la la land. They're not,
to some extent.
we're
all our own crazy.
we're all sort of like messed up, all of us. But then again, and that's if you've had a good life. That's if you were born into a really good environment and all your needs were met when you were a child and you're loving, caring. You're still going to have problems because you're a human. You're not perfect. But again, what with you, something was put onto you. This was something from external put onto you. You were attacked more than once. And by you saying about your childhood, we're not going to go there, but something's happened there. So there's been things that. So now this is something completely different. But what's the answer? How I agree with you completely. There needs to be support, and you think, well, what support? People need to be aware and understand. So by me having conversations with people like you, you're changing my perception. When I walk around the streets now, if I see an homeless person, my perception's now changed of them. I don't think, oh, druggy, get a job, lazy, bone idle. And if I see someone smoking weed, I think, ugh. Now I'm like, what's going on? What's behind the drugs? What's behind the homelessness? Because at the end of the day, they don't want to be there, do they? They don't want to be in that state. They don't want to be. So it's having an awareness. But again, by you sharing this, it's making people think. Wait a minute, and it makes you a better person as well. in a sense,
It
doesn't it?
did.
Because people say, I want to be happy, and happiness is not what you get. It's literally is what you give. The more you give, the more you get. And if you haven't
Right.
figured that, if people haven't figured that one out, it's a true story. If you want to be happy, give everything, help people, and it'll make you feel good. And
Mhm.
so obviously, we've been
Um,
talking for an hour.
any,
Sorry, love.
oh, sorry.
It's all right. I don't want to interrupt you. It's there's a lot more that happens next. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, on that note, we're gonna have to do part 3 because I didn't expect that. Like I say, when you're telling me your
It's quite a story.
this,
It's quite a
I'll fix your book. It's gonna be like that. You're gonna have to make
story.
like a drama series out of it. It's gonna be huge. So there's more to what you've said.
Yeah, okay.
Right. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Brittany.
We can get it for a third part for sure. There won't need to be a part 4. I can handle it all in a part 3.
Yeah, we don't. We'll do it in small parts, right? Because I don't want to upset you. That's why we just mix it up a bit. That's why sometimes I'll talk a little bit, and I'm not doing it because I want to be the center of attention. I'm doing it because I don't want you to be upset. I need to give you a break, right, from it, even though it's good and you're talking about it, but it still hurts. I'm like, well,
Yes.
put the pain, give you a little bit of a break. I'll just waffle on for a bit and let you breathe. So what we can do, if you want to, because obviously there's more to it, we'll do another one. What do you think?
Yes,
Yeah,
that'd be great. Yeah.
it's good, this, isn't it? But you're helping
It is.
me.
Into like the reform that I want to see happen, so that's what I get excited about when I
Yeah.
get to that part. And
Yeah, that's it. Even just having this conversation, you can feel the energy, can't you? It's like, oh, okay, this doesn't feel bad. This actually feels all right. That intuition, when you think, oh, there's something very positive going on here. Even though we're talking about horrific pain and suffering, you can sort of see, oh, something good's coming out of this. You can feel it. There's like a
there's a
warmth.
there's a happy ending.
Oh yeah, of
So
course it is. That's what we say. Don't worry. Whatever it is, it'll always pass. It's like where you were then and where you are now. So it doesn't exist anymore. It's past. And whatever, if this is to everyone at home, if you're going through stuff, it will pass. And if you want it to pass quicker, things like this help people who might be suffering at home. True, isn't it? Because if it's not, go on, love.
I kind of write a survival guide in my book, kind of when I tell like things that helped me, like what I did to get my head back, in the game and to fight back against, what had happened to me. So I kind of go into like a survival guide, if you will, that I think, I hope will help some people who are in a dark place, because it really helped me to get my, mentality back where it needed to be for me to get out of that. So.
No, absolutely, because we need answers, don't we? That's the thing. So we know the problem. We think, okay, the problem, let's break it down. In anyone's life, the problem, there's always something's happened, some sort of trauma. It could have been anything. It could be something even trivial, but it's grown like a cancer. It's got big and it's affected adult life, and you take it with you, and then you carry it around, and it's permeating through you, all your thoughts. You're sort of blinded by this trauma, and it's changing your behavior and your self-awareness of how you see yourself. And you think, I don't like the way I feel, I don't like myself, what do I do to make myself feel better? I'll take drugs, I'll get an addiction, I'll get into domestic, I'll attract people who are going to treat me how I treat myself, which is low. It's true, isn't it? That's why there's no. If someone's got very low self-esteem, I've seen it too many times to know the pattern. When someone's got low self-esteem, I can tell by looking at someone. When someone's got low self-esteem, I can look at them and say, "You've just come out of a negative relationship, haven't you?" And they go, "How did you know?" And I go, "I bet it's happened a few times. Every relationship it's been." And they go, "How do you know that? Are you a mind reader?" I'm not taking the mick out of them, but they're like, how do I know? I says, because you can see it. And they say, see what? I can see, because you can pick up on people's energy. And people who go after that energy are predators, or as they would call in school,
Oh yeah.
bullies,
Oh yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I can't tolerate them is bullies. Can't
I
stand
can't
them.
either. I
Honestly,
understand.
it's like I want to go and get them. I get pleasure out of finding them, and just like because I ain't scared of them because they're not scary. They're cowards, and
They're usually pretty scared on the
yeah, of
inside.
course they are. That's what I mean. But again, when you look at it, you think, well, why? What makes someone? Because like you say,
Right.
pimps and all this, and all this scary, and it's at the time it is. But when you step back and you're looking at it and you think, would a man do that? And what is a man? There's a boy, immature, childish. There's a man who knows himself and who's able to give love because he can feel it, who has empathy, understanding, intelligence, smart. They would never try to control someone. A man would lift somebody up.
Come
That's the
on.
reality. So
Mm-hmm.
when we recognize that, you think, oh, um,
What?
yeah, I could get into this all day. It's fascinating. It really is. But there's always a
Yeah.
positive outcome, Brittany.
Right.
And again, because you've experienced it and you've written that, obviously this book. What's that book called again? Put it up. It's just the cat's
It's
got it. Jax, just sitting up. He's
yeah.
sitting on the book. There it is. Read it again. When cops try to play. Sorry, I can't see it from here. What's this?
When cops try to counselor mental illness becomes a crime.
I love that. That's true, though, isn't it?
It is.
And where can they get?
It,
Look how
living
big
proof.
that book is. You can hit him over the head with it.
It is pretty big.
Is it hardback? Is that a hardback?
It's a hardback, yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. You've got to have a hardback to actually go through what you've been through. You've got to have strength,
Right.
haven't you?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I started out with just a letter to the attorney general that I wrote is where it kind of all started, and then it just kind of
Yeah.
went from there, and then somehow ended up with New York Publishing House, and then all of a sudden I had written a book.
Yeah.
It's crazy when I think from where I was, to I never in my wildest dreams when I was sleeping on pavement in parking lots would think that I'd be,
Mm.
signing a contract with New York Publishing House one day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that's
Like,
another story. Like, well, how did that happen? Doesn't make
we're
sense,
gonna
does it?
yeah, I won't leave it on a sad note, I promise. It's
No.
gonna end good.
Well, it is something positive's come out of it.
Yes, absolutely.
Because, do you know, I know that, right? Because I'm a very positive person, right? And I don't talk to negative people. I can't. I'm not attracted. It just doesn't happen. That's how the universe works. Like attracts like. That's what they say. So if I'm talking to you, the universe and God's wrong. So obviously it's not. So obviously there's something. You're radiating something. People can call it what they want. Vibration, energy. We're all connected. And I know a lot of people say, "Oh, that's not true." It is true. Come on. If you don't understand the truth, start studying quantum physics. It'll explain it all.
Right.
Yeah. We're all the same. We're all the same.
That's
We're all
that's
human.
true.
Right? You're the only difference between me and you is because I'm a male and you're a female, but we're both human. It doesn't matter if you're in America and I'm in England. We're both human. If I walk past you in the street, you just assume I was from America. It's only because I open my gob, you'll go, "You're from England?" and I go, "Are you from America?" Doesn't make any difference. We're all exactly the same, aren't we? But
That's
we've got different experiences, and that's the only thing that changes us is our perception of how we see things and how our lives are. But you can change your life like you have, which is great. And again, writing this book, that's going to change, or it's going to dent someone's life. It's going to sort of scratch someone and think, oh, interrupt the pattern, and that's all it
I
takes.
hope people's like perspectives too when they see people like that, because like if you're truly a godly person, or even if you're not because you don't consider yourself to be. I mean, every human deserves kindness and respect, but I mean, when you look back on it, really, in all honesty, I think the world's kind of forgotten that when Jesus did come, he didn't tell the sinners to go sit in the church. He told the church to go sit with the sinners. So I
Yeah, he
mean,
did. One of the most powerful things about this isn't a scriptural Bible study or anything like that. So when people say, "Oh, is this one of them Christian things?" It's not. Like I do. I believe I don't know. I read a lot. I read the Bible, right? So you would think I was a Christian because I've read it and I've looked at it. And there's certain things I thought, actually, that's really interesting. So one thing Jesus says when he's on the cross, we've got to get technical. It wasn't a cross. Cross means stake in the Hebrew. Anyway, so he's there. What does it represent, right? He's there. He's sacrificing his life, right? And as he's being tortured, as they're stabbing him and spitting on him and sticking thorns in his head and nail his hands into the cross, he's not for 1 minute did he go, poor me, oh, this hurts, help me. He didn't cry. No, you tell, like, he cried. If you read the Bible, he cried out and he spoke. And what he said was, Father, please forgive them. That's what he said. I get goosebumps.
They know what they do.
Yeah, he says they
It
know
in the
what
Bible.
they don't. It's that's what it says. They don't know what they're doing because he understood, right? If you believe in Jesus or not, this is in the Bible, so it was. This doesn't come out out of nowhere. This person said, "Please forgive them. They don't know what they do." Meaning they don't know what they're doing. He's getting, but how selfless is that? He's not bothered what's happening to him. He's more cares about what's going to happen to them. Please forgive them. That's powerful stuff, isn't it?
It is. One of my favorite Bible verses too. It's in Matthew, and it says, what you do for the least among you, you do for me. And in Isaiah it says, I heard the voice of the Lord say, so who should I send? And I said, send me.
Yeah, sacrifice. And that's life. I think in life we can't go, what can I get? What's in it for me? You ask, what can I do? How can I serve you? Because if you're going to be mates with anyone, if you're going to be friends with anyone, the best friend you should be hanging about with is God, right? Because there's no one powerful than him. Right? So I'm going to be mates with God. How do we get to God, right? Is it through Jesus, right? Jesus, does this work? Let me test the waters. It might not, but I'll do what it says. I'll pray to Jesus. And then you're like, oh crap, it's real. Now I'm mates with God. Now I don't care. Now I'm not scared because I'm I'm friends with God. I walk with Jesus. You do that, mate. You're indestructible. You ain't gonna be scared of no one.
Ordered by the Lord, it says so.
It's true, isn't it?
I mean, it takes nothing and it costs nothing just to, say, oh my God, how could I help this person? Or just show an act of kindness to somebody, or even if you don't know what to do yourself, get them the help that they need.
Yeah.
That's not going to hurt you to do that. That's what you're here to do,
What's that? That other one, Brittany, you'll like this. You'll know this one. Because when I did psychology, I did a master's degree in it, and I thought I still got questions here. And he said, "But you've got the PhD." I still had questions. I was like, "But it doesn't make sense." And I spoke to my mother about this, right? When I did my degree, I finished university, right? My mum was a Christian. She's a really strong Christian, right? And I went to see her, and I went because I was at university and I lived on my own. And I said, "Oh, I've passed my degree." And she said, "I'm happy for you." I said, "What?" I said, "You're not proud of me." She said, "I'm not proud of you. I'm happy for you." I'm like, bloody hell, Mum. I've just spent 8 years studying there. And I thought, oh, that's just the way she is. And then she said, come to the meetings with me. I'm like, I don't want to go to the meetings, they go to church and all that. She went, come with me. I thought, God, go on then. Just to please her. And I went. And then I saw like the elders and all that. And it's really nice people, these are. They are really nice people. And I've knew them all my life. Even though I haven't seen them since I was like 12 years old, and they see me, and I'm like 20 or whatever at the time. They're like, "Oh, hello, Travis, you've grown." I'm like, "Oh God, yeah, yeah." And they said, "What have you been up to?" And I'm like, oh, and all these old men and old women. And I went, "I've just done a PhD in psychology, like pretty confident, like impressed with
Yeah.
myself." Yeah. And I'm like, "Look at."
Man.
No, I had an ego, bit of an ego then. I thought, well, I've done well. I'm clever. I was young. And he said, "Oh, okay, that's nice." I'm like, "All right, wasn't it?" And I'm thinking, "That's nice. What have you done with your life?" And young. I didn't say it. I
I'm
went,
like, because now that I know you
"Yeah,
got a PhD in psychology and we're having this conversation, I had no idea all this time I was talking to a psychologist.
yeah." Well,
That's pretty awesome.
a lot of it I don't follow now because I question it. But listen to this, you'll like this. He wasn't impressed, right? And my ego, I remember I was a young lad, he's gone now. I had his ego like, "But I've worked hard." And he wasn't impressed when I said I've got a master's degree, PhD. And he went, "All right, that's really nice." And then he went, "Can I show you something?" I'm like, "Oh, go on then." And I knew he was going to get the Bible out. And I'm like, "I'm not interested in the Bible, but I thought I'd be polite." And he went, "Look at this." And he got the Bible out and he started doing that. And he went, "Read that for me." I went, and I read it. I swear to God, right? When I read it, everything I learned in that 9 years just went, didn't mean anything. I read one sentence that he read, and I read it. And do you know what it said?
I have a feeling I might know, but
You
I
bet
want
you
to see
won't,
what
because
you're
a
saying.
lot of them, right? This thing just summed up everything about psychology, right? How to fix it, right?
Yeah.
And it was, you got me, I didn't just do psychology, I did neuro-linguistic programming, did neurology, a lot.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying that to boast. It's because I'm very nosy. I like to know stuff. So the only way to know is to study. So I read it, and it said, "Happy are those conscious of their spiritual need." And I'm like, that's
Amen.
it. Now, if you really listen to what it says, happy are those conscious of their spiritual need. It basically says, if you want to be, I mean happy, not, I mean pure joy. The only place you can get that is if you're conscious. That means you're awake of the spirit that you need. You need it. If you've got this spirit inside you, right,
Yeah.
you'll be all right, mate. That's what it is. And I'm like, part of me is like, I was gutted. I thought, I've just wasted my time studying psychology. Because psychology works to a degree, but you can have all the counselling sessions in the world. If counselling worked, why'd you have to keep on having it? If you
Right.
speak to God, you don't have to speak to him once. You're like, once you connect to Christ consciousness, you're like, "Oh, well, what's this?" And then it says in the Bible, "Do not lean on your own understanding." That's another
Right.
one. I'm like, because I thought I knew it all because I was a psychologist. Oh,
Right.
I know it. I leaned on my own understanding.
Very big, a very, like defined box, I feel like, of
Yeah.
what you're supposed to do. And like, these are the rules. You go to school, you graduate, you get married, you have kids. Like they have this whole, you know,
Yeah.
um, blueprint laid out for you. And it's like, this is, you need to follow it. And I don't agree with that. Like, and I think me being homeless is what changed that experience for me. I think like,
Mm.
I kind of had a moment like yours a bit, but I think it was like the experience of being homeless is what got, which all I had when I left jail was a Bible. And I tell people all the time that's all I needed.
Yeah.
And it's very true. I still go out there to where I was homeless at sometimes. And I go out there and I'll sit and I'll take my Bible and I'll sit because it's just like, that's where I feel like the closest to God. And I mean, I was holding on to him with clenched fists out there. And so like my spirituality and my journey, like, and like moments that I've had that I'll even talk about that were like divine moments throughout that journey, which, I'll get to, I guess, in part 3, but that just made it undeniable to me. And like, I've seen him work so many miracles. Like, I wouldn't be here, doing this right now if
I hadn't. So God's God saved me. I tell people all the time, it was just me and God out there, just me and God. And it really was.
Yeah. Like,
But I'm so grateful for it, because it changed my perspective on everything, life, all of it. It's like I just saw things from an entirely different perspective. It really had a huge, profound effect on me, I would say, when it comes to like money, probably the most. It changed my whole perspective on money, and the love of it, I guess.
yeah. So it's like that thing. People can break your mind. But your mind
Right.
went it didn't break. It just reacted, right? Someone physically hurt you, right? But one thing no one can literally break. They can't break it. It's your spirit.
It came.
Can't break your
Yeah.
spirit. You can try. The world cannot break your spirit. Even God said to Satan, he said, like the story of Job says, you do what you want to him, but you won't touch. There's certain something, like there's a private part inside every one of us, like this spirit, right? I don't mean physical private parts. There's something, ain't
Right.
nothing can get to it. Nothing, no man,
Amen.
no evil, nothing can get to it. No AI, nothing. This,
No
this,
weapon formed against you.
yeah, no one can touch the spirit. And the thing with the spirit, like your spirit, what you're doing, you've got two options. You can ignore it and pretend it doesn't exist. But when people are in fear, what's the first thing they shout? Please, God, help me. Or if they're scared, oh my God, they say God, they shout it out. They can't help it. Well, why is that? It's in you. You can't help it. We live in a physical world, having a physical reality. Yeah. But it's not
Yeah.
real. We know that. That's it. We know physics. Everything's just vibration, isn't it? Nothing's solid. It's just atoms, neurons. We know that, right? And if you really study it, you think, oh, right, okay. If I got a magnifying glass or a telescope and zoomed into my hand and it was super, super powerful, it'd literally see nothing, just empty space. Nothing solid. So there's the physical side of ourselves, the body,
Right.
and then there's the non-physical, the spirit, and that's what's
Right.
happening at the moment. It's been happening a long time, but if we don't tap into it and say, wait a minute, something's off here. Why is the world upside down? Why is everything backwards? Why do I feel the way I do? Why does it feel off? There's an offness, and we call it. There's a darkness and evil energy, especially now. It's like, what is going on? Did you know
Right.
more people have bought the Bible in the last 2 years than any other time in history? It was
That makes me
announced
happy.
because everyone's like, something's off. It's like people are starting to wake up now. They're like, oh,
I hope.
right. Yeah.
Well, I think the problem with the church has always been that they preach perfection so much, and
Yeah.
honestly, God is not concerned with our perfection.
Yeah.
He's concerned with our presence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He knows we're not perfect. So, I mean, he doesn't care about your perfection, but it seems like the church preaches perfection. And
Yeah.
it's like you have to, and that's not, I don't agree with that, because I mean, God made me the way I am. I'm not going to sit here. I'm going to strive to always be better.
Yeah.
But, they have this like box of what it means to be a Christian. And I just don't agree with. And it's so much like perfection. You have to do this and you can't do that. And, this is, and I just I don't jive with that really well. Because I know that God's not worried about that. He's worried about me,
Yeah.
my presence, my perseverance, and my purpose. That's what he's concerned with, not my perfection.
With me, Brittany, I had a bit of a battle because I felt guilty because the way I was brought up. I thought I'm not denying it, but I've got too many questions and things don't make sense to me in the Bible. So, but then I felt like guilt, and there's a word for that. It's like a religious, because it's so embedded into me. You feel, oh, maybe there is, even though my conscious mind is aware that, oh God, there's too many gaps, right? And then I felt guilty for not believing it to an extent, just in case. So I just thought, you know what, I need to have a word, right? If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it properly. So I thought, right, if I pray to God now, I would say, God, it's not that I don't believe in you, I do, right? I just don't believe in human beings. So if an elder at a church says, praise the Lord and all this, and I'm like, I'm sorry, mate, I don't believe you because you're a man, right? And you're not perfect. It's nothing against you. You're just a human, right? Or a woman, right? I goes, and I can't read a book that a man's written. But so that's my thinking. So I think God will be okay. This is what I believe. God will be all right because I've said it's not you, God. It's just I don't believe there's too much corruption in the world, and people manipulate stories to make money. Like you get all these churches, and they're all making tons of money because it's classed as a church, so you don't have to pay tax, and it's all these contributions. You see them all, don't you? So I'm like, right, this people are corrupt. But I don't worship people and what people say.
Honestly, like I'm more spiritual. I mean, I feel like it's not a religious relationship you have with God. It's a spiritual relationship you have with God. And I feel like the labeling we've done with Catholics and Baptists and this and that and Lutherans, and it's like it's just divided us more than it's united us. You know, and it's like this was man made up stuff. You know, like God didn't come in here and create this. You know, I'm not a really, I don't really like to, you know, relate God with religion because I don't feel like it's a religious relationship you should have with God. It's a spiritual relationship you should have with God.
Oh, yeah, and that's it. And I think people are, because that's the only way you're going to get to the truth, isn't it? Yeah. They say through Jesus, right? I'll accept that, but not through Bob at the church. I have to go through a vicar. I'm like, no, mate, I ain't playing that game, right?
Right.
Because they call themselves fathers. I don't know if they do that in the States, but they wear black collars and you call them fathers. I'm like, you're not my father. You're a man, right? And it's no disrespect to them, but I'm not doing that. I'm not playing that game, right? But yeah, I don't believe in holy men. Like popes and things like that, but again, people do, and that's all right. It's just I ask questions.
You know, they got to figure it out for themselves. You know,
Yeah, you got to figure. Yeah, make the truth your own. It even says that in the Bible. Make the truth your own. You've got to figure it out yourself. But anyway, thank you, Brittany. God, 2 hours and 6 minutes. And then the first one was an hour and a half, I think. So what's that? Do the maths. What's that? Just over 3.5 hours. Well, that's it. Yeah,
we're gonna be a documentary.
I know. You don't have to even buy the book now. Well, we're just going to end up going through it. But again, there's so much. Even the book's got a lot more detail. But again, we could have a discussion about the book and break it down and really get into it and really unravel it and question it and think, well, why? What do you think that was? And that's what you do. That's studying. And that's how you learn, isn't it? But yeah, thanks for that, Brittany.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, we're going to do part 3, aren't we?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Yeah, definitely. We'll try and keep it under an hour and a half. But yeah, thank you so much. We're still recording, by the way. We and you were just chatting about God now. Right? It's funny how it always comes back to God, doesn't it? It always does. But there you go. There's some truth in it. There must be. But yeah, thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Guys, if you're still watching, I'm sure you are. Thank you. I do appreciate you listening to, not my story. This is literally Brittany's story, which is amazing. And again, this video is not edited at all, even though you see all these fancy text coming on the screen. It's all done on one take. So what you're seeing is what you're getting. Again, we're going to do part 2 because this has been going on for 2 hours, 8 minutes. And my voice is sore, even though I've got loads more questions to ask you. And again, the story does get darker, but when we go into dark places, we've got to do it with light, because you don't want to relive it, do you? You've got to find a different approach. If you've struggled with any sort of trauma in your life, put your thoughts and comments in, and I hope this has helped you. And again, we're going to do a part 3. That we'll probably do that in the next couple of days, Brittany, and we'll find out what happened next, because obviously there's a lot more to the story than Brittany's gone through, but we will cover that as soon as we get her back on the show. Sounds cheesy, that show, but it is, isn't it? But anyway, until next time, guys, take care, look after yourself, and God bless.